For today's nearly the last panel, we have Gameloft Game Designer, Gameplay Programmer Ataberk Ateş, Oddsock Concept CEO Faryal Hussain, and Cactus Production Game Designer, Game Developer Roberto Vergine will talk about what is it like to be a game developer in their home countries. So I'm inviting them right now to join us.
Hi.
Hey, hi.
Hello, welcome. Welcome, everyone.
Hey.
I hope you are all doing great.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you for joining. So we can start with Ataberk and go on the order to introduce yourselves to our audience.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you'll see my name. I'm working at Gameloft right now. I been in the game industry since 7 years or 8 years, something like that. When I started learning game development, Unreal Engine was called Unreal Development Kit, and the Unity was Unity 3D. Yeah, I've been I released a few games. I did a lot of things. This is 7 years was pretty good, and yeah, I think I have quite a bit of information about our country, about the game development in this country. So I really love to share with you guys. Yeah, I think that sums it up.
Okay, thank you. Faryal, you can go.
So my name is Faryal. I am the CEO of my studio. It's called Oddsock Concepts, and we are a dedicated 2D game art studio. So we provide all assets in 2D, characters, environments, mobile assets, all of that. And we're one of a kind in Pakistan. Like, we're the only one who's doing this in Pakistan. I know a lot of other studios around the world do it, but for Pakistan, we're the first ones to be a dedicated game asset studio.
Thank you. Roberto?
Yeah, hi. So yeah, I'm Roberto from Italy. I'm the founder of my studio, Cactus Production. Formally, I am a game designer. So I've got a background in Academy of Arts. I've got an international master. And then, just as an indie dev, I wanted to be the best new game designer from Italy. I just started sending my CV back in the days, and then nobody in the world said, I don't care about you from Italy, so okay, whatever. I started my own studio. So last year I started another studio called Old Dream Made to Imagine. We realized some prototypes with the VAR in a real engine. And then back in October, I just left the company and start prototyping another game. That's the one that I'm currently working on with my studio. So yeah, here we are.
Thank you. Now, if you want to share, how are the gaming industry in your country? What are the worst and the best parts of it? Going by order, if you want. Who wants to go first?
Yeah. Well, I can go first.
Okay.
Yeah, the good and the bad has changed over the years. When I started doing game development like 7 years ago, there was no one interested in it. Not like today, because today Turkey has become the capital of hyper casual gaming. There's a lot of studios, like one created right now maybe, but in the past the problem was not you didn't get any recognition. There were some fairs like GameX, but and Gaming Istanbul, but after a certain of years, the recognition started to change. And the biggest problem in the past was we were trying to find investors, and we were trying to find publishers, but there were none in Turkey, and some investors even mocked us doing games and said like, you still play games or something like that. And then now you see like a lot of investment announcements every day. Well, it changed a lot, but the bad thing today is if you are doing something different than hyper casual, and then you're nothing. I mean, the investors only looking for to invest in mostly let's say not 100%, but mostly on hyper casual games. And if you founded a company for developing anything other than hyper casual, you're done. You know, you're not going to get any investment. Well, the good is there's people trying. You know, like Gaming Istanbul, they provided a lot of indie booths to indie developers, and they sent them to indie prize in worldwide, and not just that. There's a lot of press members that are trying to give every indie game a little bit of coverage, and that's great. That's great. I mean, there's people trying to do something, build something, but I mean, yeah, there's some people do that, and some people who are only trying to make their friends, make their the people they know to get recognition. You know, when you send you an email to the press, they tend to ignore it. Some of them, like 50 or 60%. They only care about the friends, the close circle, and it's really hard if you don't have any money to how can I say, get the media coverage. You know, they request you money, and if you have it, yeah, it's good. But if you don't have it, it's a bit of problematic, because some of them, like I said, likes to cover these things, and some of them, most of them, doesn't want to even try. Well, the last thing I will cover is well, in Turkey, in 7 or 8 years ago, there were no official government organization, you know, for games, for game development, and there was something called TOGET, which was private, and then the government make it official, and the TOGET is now the official game developers association in Turkey. But well, I don't have any good memories with them, because well, we made something like a simulation and arcade racing game, and it was well received with the publishers among the world, and they were asking, how did you make this graphics in Unity? And there were Gamescom, and we wanted to be part of it, as the Turkey was the official partner of the Gamescom that year. And we asked the TOGET to be part of the game. What was the name of the fair? I forgot. Gamescom, yeah. We wanted to ask them to be part of the Gamescom, and they said, okay, we'll take your application and we'll think about it. And then we saw they sent the backgammon games, like to the Gamescom. You know, I seen the Turkey's Gamescom booth, the booth, and there were no 20. It was a good game, and the rest of them was backgammon games, mobile games, and you know, why? Because yeah, like I said before, because they know these people. They are from ODTÜ. They are from the university they are settled on, and it is very sad, but they choose to select the people they are going to take from ODTÜ, from the people they know. And it really discourages us, because we were trying hard, and publishers around the world were trying to publish the game. You know, they are trying to make an agreement with us, and then some organization from our Turkey doesn't even recognize what we did, and it was kind of discouraging. I mean, a lot of things happened in the 7 years that are discouraging, but what can I say? You know, game development. Okay, I talk a lot of, so it's my time to stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Ataberk. Now, Faryal, you can continue. Also, lately, Turkey's gaming industry has been said like it's becoming Pakistan's game industry. People are pointing out the similarities between them. If you can talk about it a bit too, it would be great.
Yeah, so it's actually true. Turkey and Pakistan have grown a lot when it comes to game development, but like Ataberk mentioned, it's mostly hyper casual. Unfortunately, it is still predominantly the genre that people are focusing on. I can dive into the similarities in a while, but I think I would like to focus on Pakistan to begin with, and then we can compare how both of them are similar or maybe different. So starting with Oddsock, starting with my own studio, the reason I actually started it was not to, like, I never had the ambition to start my own studio, but it was to be a great artist to work with artists from Blizzard, Ubisoft, you know, all of these big companies, the big giants that we have out there. But again, we don't have that kind of game art developing in Pakistan. So I tried different jobs, but we were working on hyper casuals, and that's not what I wanted to do. Hence the birth of Oddsock. So the work that we predominantly do there, we have clients from all over the globe. And because of that, we have the opportunity to work on beautiful illustrations, dynamic characters, you know, environments, all of these that you don't find in hyper casuals in general. So that's where Oddsock started. And over the years, I have seen that Pakistan is moving towards different kind of development. Like we're trying narrative-based games, we're trying RPGs, we're trying, you know, different genres. We're trying to break away from hyper casuals, but even now it is predominantly the genre that people work with because of, yes, quick money. People want to invest in it, get a quicker return, and that's all fine. But the essence of gaming is, it's not hyper casuals. We need to break away from it. And that's where Pakistan and Turkey are similar, yes. But talking about resources in our own country, the government has taken notice of the booming gaming industry. We have a lot more startups than we did before. People are breaking away from the hyper casual norm, and the government has actually, since it's taken an interest in the gaming sector and the technology and the development, it's actually setting up tech hubs and offering reduced rent, offering less taxes to encourage the gaming industry. And they have announced that they will not be charging any tax to freelancers for the next 5 years, which is really encouraging because as a freelancer, you're not really earning as much as a big studio. So to be able to be exempt from taxes, it's a huge step. So the government is definitely playing a big role in it. Secondly, coming back to the current obsession we have with hyper casuals, I think we should, we need to break away from it. And that's what Oddsock is trying to do. We're attending different conferences. We actually collaborated with a few studios in Turkey, working on different incredible games. And yeah, so there's that. And then, well, when it comes to training, I'm going to talk about different aspects of the gaming industry. And I'm going to talk a little about the training that we have here. So because we have a lot of hyper casual veterans in the industry, they don't really provide the kind of art training that you need for resources to build an international level portfolio. So again, we reached out to Europe to help us with that. So we have different studios that we're collaborating with, different artists and different art directors who help us with getting better, training our team, all of that. And yeah, I mean, it's just about pushing forward and trying to do something different and trying to break away from the stereotype and the hyper casual hype that's going on. So yeah.
Thank you, Faryal. I hope you'll succeed in it.
Thank you. We're doing quite well. We're happy with the direction we've taken. Yeah.
Roberto, you can continue. Actually, you wrote Italy. What is it like to be a game developer in Italy and difficulties of being indie developer in a country that doesn't support enough video game market?
Yep.
Most of the European countries, as I know, most of the European countries support it, most of the Northern European, but why not Italy? Can you explain further?
Yeah, and just to make it clear, it's pretty funny. You know, I am a game designer, and this is kind of a joke. When you're in Italy, I'm presenting myself to other people, and I say, hey, hi, I'm a game designer. No, I create experiences. No, and they reply to me, oh, cool. And what do you draw? Because in Italian language, design and to draw, disegnare, sounds similar, no? And you're like, I'm not drawing anything, I'm designing things. So, you know, also with the mental perspective, people just didn't get what's like to create a video game. So it's pretty harsh for us to, you know, shine. I mean, the loop is like, I've got an idea and I start prototyping and I want to, you know, maybe just get some funding because I mean, I have to, you know, live for 1 to 5 years. And then you look for funding and you go to, for example, there is one big association, it's called IDEA. They recently started supporting indie devs, but it's like, okay, so do you already have a studio? Okay, and you're like, no, I need funding in order to support the studio. And they're like, okay, I cannot support you. So how can I, you know, earn money in order to maintain the studio if I don't get the funding? So it's all a loop of looking for publisher. And like, for example, it's from the beginning of summer that I'm attending multiple conferences. I've been to the first Playable in Italy, some PG Connects, the GDC, Gamescom, Indieway, and I'm looking for funding and investment for the studio here in Italy because in Italy I cannot, you know, get anything. And also, generally speaking, you know, the Italian market is a little left behind in confronting with other Europe and America, Asia, whatever. I mean, there's a few studios. For example, there's 3D Clouds and Milestone from the north part of Italy, but they are more focused on racing game and simulation games. And then there is also Santa Ragione, rather than Stormind. They are more focused on narrative experience. They are smaller teams. But I mean, generally speaking, there's a lack of small studios like mine. We are 8 people. That's more focusing on creating accessible experience for everyone and also short one. Because I mean, if I've got an idea and I don't get the funding, but why do we have to create, for example, mobile or more casual games if I want to create something that's peculiar and unique? I mean, I'm in Italy, I've got a strong culture, I've got a great stories to tell. So I want to create this one and not others, but it's, I mean, it's kind of difficult. Also because one thing is to compare your game to others here in the Italian market. And one thing is to say, okay, I've got a great stories, but then, you know, go worldwide and, you know, I mean, there's plenty of indie developers around the world that they've got better funding than mine. So it's pretty harsh to shine. But I mean, this is how life is going. I mean, it's 1 year now that 6 months or less that I'm looking for funding and investments. And I mean, the good thing is that even though if here in Italy, we don't get any kind of recognition when developing the game or talking to other investors, when I talk to outsiders, for example, from America, Asia, Europe, Northern Europe, a lot of them seems pretty excited about my idea. And so, I mean, this is good for us, not for the morale in general. But again, it's pretty difficult. But I mean, as I was saying before, if you can get into the big industries, for example, Ubisoft, EA, Naughty Dog, whatever, because maybe you have studied like 3, 4, 5 years and you've got the knowledge, you know, and you just lack the experience, but you are from a country that's not so well seen from a video game market, you don't have any kind of possibilities. So you have to, create your own experience, create your own video games and shine, but it takes time, it takes resources, and it's pretty harsh. But I mean, you have to start from somewhere, no? So, I mean, positive thinking.
Thank you, Roberto. So Ataberk, the next question is, how did you overcome those struggles in Turkey that you mentioned?
Yeah, great question. Some of them we didn't. Some of them we did, but I mean, yeah, like Roberto said, it's something similar. Okay, we want to get funding. We have 10 people. We have great game coming up. We have trailers. We have prototypes, and you go to the government and say, okay, I want the funding, and they say, yeah, of course, you can get a funding. But you need to spend first and get me the receipt, so I can pay you the receipt. But I don't have any money. I'm an indie developer. I don't have any money to spend on, How can I get the receipt for you? Yeah, it's the same. It's very strange that it's the same, but yeah. We found one investor. Let's say we found one investor that are in line with our dreams, with what we want to achieve. And then we get the investment. We created the office. We hired the people. It was I think 5 years ago. And then the investor came to us. Okay, yeah, you guys, you have very great ideas, really great game ideas, but let's make a horse racing game before doing yours. Okay, maybe a little bit of a horse racing game so we can start off good. And then we are like, I mean, yeah, it was really hard. It was very hard because at some point you don't have any money for buying a printout. You are going to a convention or something, and then okay, I am going to convention. I have a booth, but I don't have any money to print a poster for my booth. It was really hard because you don't get any investment. People are looking for quick money. Most of them doesn't care about the gaming industry 7 years ago. And you're alone, you do something, you share with it press. Some of them even published, some of them didn't. And but let me say one really positive thing. Turkish people are very nationalistic, about Turkish games. If you make a Turkish game, people say, okay, I'm going to buy it because if it's a Turkish game. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. This is a very, I don't know if it's positive, because at some point, if you make something bad and people are encouraging you, oh, okay, you are making a Turkish game, congrats. And then, okay, you tell to yourself, okay, I'm doing something good, but in truth, it's not good, people are not going to say you, okay, it's bad. I'm not going to give you money, be good. Because they say, okay, you're Turkish, you're making a Turkish game, I'm going to support you. Well, it's like I said, positive in one side and negative in one side. But like I said, it was hard, and we tried. I mean, that's how I came what I am today. I tried to do something, published games, did different things. I did a lot of things that are not in my line. I worked in VR studios, AR studios. I did a lot of outsourcing for game design and programming. I know, like Roberto, I'm also a game designer. But how can I say? Being a game designer and a starter is not a good thing, because none of the people, not in the world, is looking for a game designer that has no experience. Like they don't care about you. You need to start somewhere different than game design. You need to make programming, you need to make animation or 3D modeling or etc. to build up your experience, and then say, okay, I'm now going to turn back to game design. And people say, okay, you have experience, you can be a game designer now. It's really harsh. And if you don't have a powerful computer, I mean, I had one laptop which had no display, only the case. The display was torn off, and I put a HDMI cable between my very small monitor, and I did my programming and game design and 3D modeling on that computer. You know, it was really hard because you don't have any funding. I mean, we are trying to get sponsorships. We write to let's say some computer brands, some computer hardware brands, and they asking them, okay, can you give me some bit of equipment so I can continue my game design journey? And yeah, they don't care. In the past, right now they do care, but not about the game development, about the game esports or the streamers. They have a lot of PCs and hardware for streamers, but not for development. I mean, I understand them because they're going to get profit from them, not from us. I mean, I'm going to put their logo on my game, and they're going to put their logo on the stream that has going to be seen by 20,000 people. I mean, if I were a PC brand, I will choose the streamers also. But from a designer's, from a indie game developer's perspective, it's very sad. You know, you don't get any support things. I mean, like I said, we didn't get past some of them, but if you keep trying, at some point you're going to make something, you know? Yeah.
Thank you, Ataberk. Faryal, how did you overcome your struggles in Pakistan?
Oh, oof. What a loaded question. So I have an art background. I'm an artist myself, and I started the studio. I rented a small place, and to start with, it was just me as an artist and just one more other artist. So we were a team of two basically. And so because we don't actually need publishing and we don't need development, because we're an art studio and we provide the art to developers, it was a very different ballgame, because wherever you would go to get advice, if I want to talk to the CEO of another company, or talk to game developers, it was a very different kind of advice that I would get. And they would be like, oh, so you need funding for publishing. I'm like, no, I need funding for art and artists. And they're like, but what are you developing? And I'm like, we're developing art for developers. And they did not understand what I was talking about, because they're like, well, if you're not publishing, how are you going to make money? And if you don't have your own game titles, what are you even doing? And it took a while to make them understand, but till then I was pretty much on my own. And well, regarding funding, what happened was that the initial funding that I had, we're actually still on that, because we never actually applied for more funding, because they require a game design document and publishing strategy and all of that. And we don't have it, because we're not publishers. So we can't really apply for publishing, which is really difficult to not be able to do. And then also to talk to different publishers, talk to different, even if you attend local game conferences, it's all about developing, and it's all about publishing, and it's all about marketing. And well, we don't fit in there. So even now you guys are talking about what it's like to be a developer in different countries. And again, we're not a developer. So we come from a very different point of view. But what is happening with us is that in order to expand, we need bigger projects, obviously. And then to get bigger projects, we need a bigger team. But to get a bigger team, we need bigger projects. And to get bigger projects, we need a bigger team. And we have just been stuck in this for 2 years now. But we're like, you know what, we'll just get the resources and figure it out later. But it has been a challenge, definitely. But starting from a team of 2 and building up to a team of 10, it has been a great experience. And then, COVID hit, because it wasn't difficult enough already. So then we had to deal with the pandemic, and we actually overcame a lot of different problems that we were facing. And instead of like what I personally understood from all of this was that, so I had a 5-year plan and I was like, you know what, this is how we're going to do it. But then every few months we would have to revisit and say, it's not working, scratch it and start with something again. So we actually, to begin with, we offered 3D services as part of our overall services. And then it wasn't working because we didn't have the resources, we don't have the funding. So we had to drop an entire department and focus just on 2D. And now we're much stronger than we were. So like, yeah, a lot of different problems that we had to face, but we overcame. But as far as funding is concerned, we don't have external funding. We get really good projects now, or we try to get really good projects, and we're working smarter than we were a year ago. And yeah, we're hoping for the best, but let's see.
Thank you, Faryal. We have a question for you. Faryal, do you work with any Turkish company? Isn't it hard to outsource art for a game development company?
No, people actually prefer to outsource art now. We did work with one Turkish company. It's called Moby Dictum. Yeah. But turns out they were interested in publishing as well. So we had like other sort of arrangements, and we got to know the CEO, Batuhan, of Moby Dictum, and we like bounced ideas, and we're like always giving each other advice, talking about different conferences and all of that. But as far as outsourcing artwork, a lot of companies actually prefer to do it. And I think Verdia would agree that even Ubisoft outsources a lot of their artwork. Blizzard does, Marvel, all these big companies, they outsource. And even the small studios, like indie studios, they come to us and they're like, look, we're developing a game and we would like to focus just on development. And we would like to outsource the entire art department to you guys so that we can focus on, development, publishing, game design, all the important things that we need to do while not having to worry about the artwork. So that's where we come in. And we're like, okay, we'll assist you and we'll try to make your vision, like whatever you want your character to look like, whatever you want the environment to look like, all of that. And you don't have to worry about troubling yourself with that. And a lot of people do go for that option because, again, not everyone has funding to hire full-time artists, especially if they have like one game. So if they plan on publishing just one game in 1 year, you don't want to have artists working around the clock and then, paying them full-time salaries, having a studio for them, all of that. So they just invest in like a one-time cost with us, and yeah, they prefer it.
Thank you. Actually, we had a speaker that owns the company of the Blizzard that outsourced Hearthstone cinematics on Indieway, on our first Indieway here.
Oh.
So Roberto, let's move on to you. How did you overcome your struggles in Italy?
May I share my screen in 1 second?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, this is okay. So it's something like this. Okay. This is how you overcome anything in dev. I mean, this is from another presentation, another talk that they've attended. But when you get you graduated, you're a designer, artist, whatever, and you're like, I want to be in the industry. You don't find any job, so you become the indie dev, and then that's where this is the mistake. Okay. And also it's interesting because here in Italy again, it's something like this. the Batman slapping Robin. Okay, the ideas. Here in Italy, there's the lack of the concept of you are a game designer, because for example, some studios doesn't even have a game designer. It's like, oh, I've got ideas, so I don't need you, and they just move on. While on the other side, I mean, it's not just you have to look for funding, but you also have to look for collaborators. I mean, we are 8 people. 2 of them are from my Academy of Arts, and other 2 of them, I got in touch with the Academy and said, hey, I need some help. So they started an internship with us, because I didn't know where to look for. My SFX composer is from Argentina, and I found him on Reddit, just a random post, and I said, okay, welcome in. But it's like, you don't have the funding in order to pay people, and so you're like, I've got the idea, I've got the GDD documents, I've got anything, but I miss the people. And so how can I afford to create even a small games without the people, because I cannot do the one-man army. Okay, I mean, I should be the game designer of our projects, but today I'm here talking with you. This morning I had another meeting, and it's like I'm doing PR and doing marketing and doing design, level design, arts, coding, whatever. So it's pretty harsh, And so at the end of the day, you are like this, I want you to be a dreamer, and then I ended up like this. I mean, it's pretty tough. As Ataberk said before, I'm working with a computer from like 5 years ago, and it's pretty difficult, to get things working properly. But also, when I was looking for funding and I didn't get any, at least as it is for now, I got in touch also with other associations from Europe. Like, for example, there is this one called Creative Europe, and they replied back and said, oh, maybe you can start looking in your own country. And I got in touch with some of them. I went to a meeting, and they were like, oh yeah, okay, you're in the video game, and I have no idea how to help you. Maybe there's some kind of funding, but the only ones are for example, for cinemas and new media. But for video game, there's none. And they were just thinking about starting funding in sometimes next year. They even don't know. So it's pretty harsh. And so it's not like we overcome these obstacles. It's pretty difficult, even for small games. And yeah, as Faryal was saying, it's like I need funding in order to create bigger projects, but I don't have the money. So I start small, but I don't have the money to do small things. So I'm looking for funding. I mean, it's a loop, it's an infinite loop. And so the main thing is that, as it is for now, I've got 7 people working for me for free, because they believe in my idea and they believe in what I'm doing for them. And so, I mean, I am happy about this, but I mean, also I would be happier if I could manage to, just get some, even a small fund, and say, okay, people, guys, you're working with me for like 1 year, but I mean, maybe I can pay you just a little, but I mean, at least you're not wasting your time, because at the end of the day, hopefully, next year when we release the game, we could sell, I don't know, 100 copies if you're lucky, because I mean, I have no one that's currently working on the marketing side, and I'm also looking for an help with them, but I need funding to pay the marketing, and so it's pretty harsh. And so at the end of the day, it's like I wanted just to be a designer. I ended like to be a founder of a company, and next year I have no idea where I'll be, because also, as I was saying Ataberk before, if you want to be a designer, you have to gain experience, but you don't have experience. So in the meanwhile, I'm just building my portfolio with this team. Okay, and next year, I mean, I've got ideas. I've got another idea for another game that's big, but how can I achieve that one if I cannot find the funding for the smaller one? So it's okay. So next year, where will I be going? Maybe I just go and start a make some bread, selling them from the streets, and see you game design and whatever. But I mean, at least this is how it's working in Italy. Maybe I'll be moving, in some country in Europe and start another studio or working in other fields. Because I've received a different proposal, for example, for be a programmer, Unity or Unreal Engine rather than 3D artist, and I was like, I am a game designer. I mean, okay, I've worked with the augmented reality application in Unity and programmed that, but I'm not a programmer. I am the designer. So why did you get in touch with me for a designer perspective? It's pretty embarrassing about this, but I mean, and in the meanwhile, how can I get the funding in order to, for example, buy plugins rather than attend conferences? I'm working as a receptionist during 2 nights a week. And maybe I'll be starting working as a waiter sometimes. And my screenwriter is a waiter, during the week. So, I mean, we have to find alternative type of incomes. But I mean, we will see.
Thank you, Roberto. As I know, in Turkey, most of the people who need to find funding, they start a Kickstarter from Canada or USA, and then move their studio over there and start making those games. Have you guys ever think about moving your studio to a foreign country to get more funding or to get more chances? Ataberk, you can start first.
Yeah, I mean, we think of Kickstarter at some point, but as you tell, they require a bank account that has been in these countries, not in Turkey. And while being an indie developer, it's not really something you can consider. Okay, I can go, I can find someone there, or I can go there, or I mean, you already don't have any resources for game development. How are you going to find the resources for transferring your studio to another company? I mean, it's unthinkable at that point. I mean, for me at least. But we think, okay, if we can make a Kickstarter, we are going to solve all problems. But nope. Yeah.
Thank you, Ataberk. Faryal, have you ever think about moving your studio to another country, not only just specifically Kickstarter, but just funding from another country?
Honestly, people did suggest it to me, and I'm not to speak against it, but I'm not in favor of asking other countries to fund my studio. Like, why should I go to the US or why should I go to Germany or Turkey and ask them to fund me while I'm sitting here in Pakistan? Like, I would rather go to my own people, to my own government, and if they're not assisting me, which they're not, I would rather try to struggle and find my own way around it. And we actually did. So, I mean, personally, growing from a team of 2, including myself, it was 2. Like, it's not me plus 2, it was me plus 1, which made 2. And then growing to a team of 10 in a period of 2 years gave me the confidence that if we made it to 10, we can make it to 20 in another 2 years. My business developer and I were actually discussing this just a few days ago, and we were reflecting on how far we've come. And so the first conferences that we used to attend as a very, very fresh studio in the very beginning, we used to be really timid and underconfident because obviously we didn't have a portfolio, we didn't have too many artists. So I was the artist and she was the business developer, and we were just like, she was getting the projects or trying to get as many as we could, and I was trying to complete the artwork. And from there, just convincing clients that, look, we are the right choice for you, and you need to hire us because we're a smaller studio, we can give you attention, when in reality we didn't really have any projects to like divide attention in. Like they were the only ones we would have. And from there, to see ourselves attending, like to be a speaker in Indieway and to be attending different conferences with confidence and, you know, getting bigger projects. Like we have deals with different indie studios. We have a really good growing portfolio. We have a team of excellent artists. I mean, I think we can do it on ourselves. Like I did want to get funding in the beginning. It is easier, obviously, to have a bank account full of money and to be able to spend it whenever you need it. But I don't think we'll be turning to foreign governments or foreign companies for funding. I think we're just going to keep on struggling and just getting better every year. And we have a 5-year plan and we are working on it. And hopefully we will be working and collaborating with some really good companies in the future. So like that's my personal take on it. So
thank you, Faryal. Roberto?
Yeah, about the Kickstarter, it's funny because last year with the other studio, we were working on a webcomic, and we managed more or less to start this little Kickstarter, but it's pretty harsh also because here in Italy, if you manage to create a Kickstarter and start selling, you have to pay a lot of taxes because it's like you are selling some goods, so it's different from country to country. So I wouldn't recommend to create a Kickstarter even for a smaller project like this. I personally agree with the Faryal. I mean, we are from Italy, and there's a lot of studios here in my country. So I think that if we manage to create something that's worth it and it's valuable, maybe the old country will get some points in the video game industry. So I'll be happy for it. I personally would like to move to North Europe because there's a lot of video game studios and the market is very strong. But I mean, as it is for now, I'm pretty happy to be here in Italy. And also the fun fact is that just from the beginning, I was like, okay, guys, I'll be attending conferences and I'll be looking for publisher, investors, and whatever. But I knew that I think that we won't get any kind of publishing or investors because I mean, you have to think always. You have to be positive. But I've learned that you have to also be realistic and just imagine the worst case scenarios in which you have to do anything by yourself. And this is just what I'm currently doing. And also, that's a shame that here in Italy, the few funding that I found, I can't access them because I'm from one region, and if you want to get access to that funding, you have to live in the other region, and I cannot afford to just move on with and just rent an house, an apartment, whatever, and just to get funding. So it's pretty harsh. But at the end of the day, I mean, you find alternative routes like Ataberk and Faryal, and you just just move on slowly, and someday maybe you get to shine. I mean, so yeah, positive thinking.
Thank you, Roberto. We are end of our time. Thanks a lot for joining today. Thanks a lot for sharing your experiences. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.